406.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 411 from 406. My name is Chewie, and I am joined once again by my brother from another mother, Mr. Pip. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great, man. What's up, Mandinga? How are things going?
It's been a while. It's been a while. I apologize. I know we tried to record last week and just like shit got in the way, and so I
That was
apologize. But it's
me.
good to
That
see
was
you.
all me. I was running
Uh,
on fumes and low sleep because I was at a concert the night before and I just couldn't keep my eyes open. So I apologize for that, but
oh,
that
no
was the
worries.
reason we didn't record.
No worries. Who'd you see then? You've been
So
going to a bunch of shows, haven't you?
I've got a couple under the belt. Concert season has started kind of early. I saw, let's see, last month in January, I saw Big Head Todd and the Monsters, which is one of my favorite bands of all time. You and I have seen them
Yep,
together at the
we
House
have.
of Blues in Cleveland.
Yep.
And as it stands right now, if I'm looking at my nerdy concert spreadsheet, they are the band that I've seen the absolute most. I've seen them 18 times at this point.
Wow,
So
that's crazy.
that's above and beyond, Sammy and Jimmy Buffett and Dave Matthews and a whole bunch of other bands. So yeah, they've just kind of become one of my favorites to visit on the road. I very rarely miss a show. I would have seen them an extra time last year if I hadn't waited too long and the show sold out, which I didn't expect to happen for that band.
Okay.
But
Now, are they, again, I have seen them with you, but I can't say that they're like one of my favorites. Like, what sort of venues are they playing? Like, we saw them in a relatively small venue, House of Blues. What's that? I don't know, 2,000 seats. Is that a hard ticket to get? Are they a hard band to get these
no, not
days?
at all. Not usually,
No.
I should say. So yeah, normally I'd say that the venue that I've probably seen them at the most is a venue called the Vogue, which is in Broad Ripple
Okay.
here in Indianapolis. It's a small club, it seats probably, geez, I don't know, between 1,000, 2,000 people. It's not very
Okay.
big. But yeah, so we saw them at the House of Blues. I've seen them at a couple festivals. So usually not. Last year they played this thing called Rock the Ruins in Indianapolis, which is this new kind of concert series, we'll call it. There's a small venue at a park in downtown Indianapolis, and they just have like a series of concerts there for about 2 straight weeks. Like almost every night has a different show. Last year, Blues Traveler came with Big Head Todd and the Monsters, so they did a
Oh,
double
nice.
bill. I think that's why it sold out because it's not a huge, it's an outdoor venue, right? It's just this
Yeah.
big park. There's no overhead seating or anything like that. So I slept on it because I honestly didn't think there was any chance that they would sell
Sure.
out, and they did, and I got real pissed and FOMO'd and all that stuff. But last month I saw them at this really beautiful venue in Carmel called the Palladium, which is of it's built for music. It's built for like concerts and orchestras and things like that. So it's very acoustically sound. It is an absolutely gorgeous venue, and they said on stage it was the nicest venue that they've ever played in their
Really?
entire lives.
Is
It, they,
that is that where we saw Sammy Hagar on the like Marching to Mars tour?
no, that was the Murat. That was
Was it? Okay.
yeah, that was the theater in the Murat. So that was a little bit
Okay.
different. This place in Carmel is relatively new. I've only ever seen one other show there. Ironically, it was Weird Al, which was a great show. That was the
Nice.
one that I met him and had a meet and greet with him, which was really fun. But yeah, so Big Head Todd was great. Love that show. And then last week, the reason for my canceling our podcast date was I went to go see a band that has been on my list for a very long time, one that just put out a new album, and I was very excited to hear some of these songs live. And it was the band Extreme with Gary Sharon and Nuno Bettencourt. The More Than Words guys, as I'm sure most
Yeah.
people know them, which is a very unfair categorization for them to lug around because they're an amazing band. They really are. They sounded so good. They played so many really great songs. They played 7 songs off their new album, which is crazy. Like you don't,
Wow.
bands that are that old that are from that genre, you wouldn't really think are playing much, if anything, from any new material. And they went out there and they killed it. They crushed it with a bunch of new songs. They played a bunch of old songs. Nuno Bettencourt is a disciple of Eddie Van Halen, if you will. Like they were friends and they knew each other. And so there were multiple times on stage where he played a little bit of Eruption. He played Women in Love. He played a couple of Van Halen licks. And that was just amazing. And of course, Gary Sharon was in Van Halen for a very short period of time. He was the lead singer after Sammy got booted. And so there's a lot of Van Halen connectivity there at that show. And my favorite part of the entire show is after the very last song. They were walking around stage after they were taking their bows and they were waving to everybody and kind of back and forth across the stage. And the crowd had started to thin out. So I got up a little closer and Nuno came over to my side of the stage and I gave him the Van Halen symbol, right? The I love you thing with the
Yeah.
join whatever from Oh Wait 1 2. And I gave it to him and he pointed right at me and he gave me a big thumbs up and he waved at me. And I was just
that's
on
awesome.
cloud nine. I'm like, Nuno, he acknowledged me and he acknowledged Van Halen. And it was a fantastic show. I was so hoarse by the end of it.
That's awesome.
And
That's
it was
awesome.
amazing. Yeah.
So when I know Gary Sharon was in Van Halen, I guess I didn't realize that Nuno had anything to do with Van Halen.
Oh, he didn't have anything to do with them. He was just friends with Eddie Van Halen.
Oh, I got you. Okay.
Yeah,
I got you.
And obviously, if you listen to any of Extreme's heavier stuff, it is incredibly influenced by Van Halen. You can hear a lot of that because he doesn't go into a lot of effects. He just cranks the volume and plays. He's a tone chaser like Eddie Van Halen was, and there's not a lot to it, but technically, his guitar playing is just otherworldly. It's amazing how clean it is.
Yeah, it's funny. I remember when, I mean, you mentioned the More Than Words guys, and I think you're right that like most people probably know them by that. I remember the first couple Extreme albums, and like they're hard. They're like a hard rock band, or they were back then. I don't know what they're playing these days. And I remember that song was great, but it was just so out of left field for them. It was just very strange. And I don't even remember anything like that on their other albums either.
Nothing was really that slow and acoustic. I mean, they've had some ballads because they kind of fit into that genre where it wasn't uncommon for bands to put out a rock album and have 2 or 3 power ballad type songs on there. But like there's a song called "Play With Me" from the very first album, which is just a school of guitar rock. I mean, it is so amazing and it's really good. So they played that. They played, if you remember when they came out with this new album, I think I sent you like a YouTube video of the first single that they released. And it's a really great song.
You did.
Yes. And they ended the show with that song, which is crazy to think that, they do have some hits, maybe not anything super popular or super recent, but they actually ended the show with that song and it's got a really incredible guitar solo in it. And it's phenomenal. I can't say enough good things about Extreme. I really think that more people should go see them play because they're really good. And Living Color opened up for them, which was really great. I sent you a video of them playing Cult of Personality, and I said it's clobbering time, and a little wrestling reference there always goes a long way. So yeah, I mean, and this is just the tip of the iceberg for my concerts. I've got a handful of them on tap. As I mentioned, I think to you last week, or sorry, the last time we talked. Before we started the podcast, I'm coming out your way to see the Rolling Stones this summer. Sammy Hagar's coming back, so I'll get to see him for the 17th time at Deer Creek. Aerosmith is if they ever get off their asses and reschedule their tour that they canceled last year, their alleged final tour. We'll be seeing them. Dave Matthews. I think Lord wants to go see Train and REO Speedwagon, so I'm like, sure, why not? That'd be fun. ZZ Top, stuff like that. So yeah, I got a couple more.
Awesome.
And there are more that are being announced. So hopefully some more pop in there.
So we had some big concert news in Cleveland not too terribly long ago. So like the city of Cleveland makes this very kind of veiled, like hush hush Facebook post. And they're like, hey, we're announcing this big concert this summer. And so actually they did a good job. Like they stirred up a bunch of buzz and it was like, oh my God, who's it going to be? Is it going to be Taylor Swift? Is it going to be, this, that, and the other thing. And so they're going to play at Cleveland Brown Stadium, which is the biggest venue that we have in Cleveland, at least. And it's going to be Billy Joel and Rod Stewart. which I thought was like
Hmm.
an interesting, like they've never played together before.
Okay.
I've seen Billy Joel a handful of times. I don't really care to see Rod Stewart. I don't know. I just it- to me, I was kind of let down based on like the all the hubbub that they had created. I don't know. Does that get your like musical juices flowing, Rod Stewart and Billy Joel in
Nah,
2024?
I generally speaking, it probably wouldn't.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm unpopular opinion. I'm not a big Billy Joel fan. I don't
Okay.
dislike him. I don't. Well, I would actively turn a handful of his songs, some of the 80s stuff. It just, I think I got so inundated with it, back in the day that I
Sure.
could go the rest of my life without hearing Uptown Girl again. But I wouldn't. I wouldn't really break the bank to go to see him live. I would actually probably see Rod Stewart before I would see Billy Joel, just because Rod Stewart kind of goes a little bit further back to the classic rock days when he was with the Faces and Maggie May and all this stuff. So like he had some good songs. I don't really care for most of his 80s stuff. It's a little schlocky for me. And that's saying a
Yeah.
lot because I like a lot of schlock. But Lauren has actually seen Rod Stewart in concert and she really liked it. So I feel like it could
Okay.
be a decent show, but that's more like one I would see at the House of Blues before I would go to Cleveland Brown Stadium. Like that's a huge venue for that act. I mean, Billy Joel is clearly the one. I assume he's headlining. It's not a double bill, right? Like,
I mean, they've got it listed as Billy Joel and Rod Stewart
okay,
is the way
maybe it
they've
is.
is yeah.
Maybe they'll
I'm
trade
just
off or do different things. Like Billy Joel toured with Elton John, many years, and they
yeah.
did a thing where they would swap out, who would open, who would close, and things like that. So maybe that's what they're going for.
Yeah, I'm looking here like upper level tickets 170 $180 a piece for upper level.
Oh, well,
Um
I'm ashamed to admit this, and you can judge all you want because I know you're not a Rolling Stones fan, but
yeah,
I got the very front row to the very upper level for
yeah.
300 bucks. It
Did you? Yeah,
was
but that's the Rolling Stones.
That's
I mean,
true. It's a lot of
they're not
money, but it's worth it, and it's easy to assume this will be the last time I
oh,
ever
it's
get a
gotta be,
chance to see
right?
them. I mean, two of the guys are literally 80 years old. Like, not an exaggeration. They are
That's
80.
crazy.
So
That's
the fact that they're
crazy.
even breathing, let alone touring, is a miracle for sure.
Again, and I think we've even talked about it on the pod. The Stones are not my favorite by any stretch, but like in my mind, like even me, I can say when you're talking about the Rolling Stones, like they're in the upper echelon of what I mean, like of all time greats.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
I don't know. I just don't put Billy Joel and Rod Stewart in that same category. And I realize that there's some people that might, but
Yeah, well, and I totally get
yeah.
that. But what about you? I mean, any chance to see you at a concert anytime this summer? What is your anything you're on the lookout for, or something you might get suckered into?
Probably not, only because my summer is so just like crazy busy with baseball and travel baseball and this, that, and the other thing. There's a handful of bands that I would go see, but like I would probably go see them at, probably the biggest venue that I would probably go see would be at Blossom, which is kind of like Deer Creek. It's the outdoor, amphitheater. We actually have in Twinsburg here, we have a small amphitheater that we have a concert series come through, and we actually bring like cover bands through, and like super high end, like from the lawn you can't tell the difference cover bands, right?
Yeah,
And we went to a Queen cover band last year that was, I mean, this dude did Freddie Mercury. Like, I mean, it was amazing. And they were really, really good. And that's the kind of venue that I like. Like the older I get, the less I like people, you know?
sure, sure, sure.
And I mean, just, I mean, I don't know. In that venue, there's probably only 2,000 people and it's outside, which is nice. I think the last concert I went to was when my brother and I went to go see the final
Genesis.
Genesis tour. Yeah,
Yeah. Hmm.
which was, yeah, it was, I mean, it was great to see Genesis. It was really sad to see Phil Collins sitting there the entire show. The stand, I don't know, we might have talked about this too. The stand out of that show for me was Phil Collins' son, who was the drummer. He was phenomenal. I mean, he was an absolutely amazing drummer.
That's cool.
Absolutely amazing. I don't know. There's a couple other bands that I might that I might, I would go see probably if Chickenfoot were to tour, I'd probably go see them. If James Taylor were to come through, I'd go see him.
Well, it just so happens on July 29th at Blossom Music Center, it will be Sammy Hagar on the Best of All Worlds tour with Joe Satriani playing guitar,
Yeah, I might
Michael
go to that.
Anthony playing bass. Well, I might try to come join you. Like if you want to,
Okay.
I don't think any work people listen to this, but I can try to plan a work trip, a work excuse to come out to Cleveland and spend some time out there. It's on a
What day of the
Monday,
week is
which
that?
it's a Monday. So
Oh,
it's
that's
not
fine.
super ideal, but like I could drive out on a Monday and make that
Right.
work.
All
So,
right. We might, yeah, actually, and I'll tell you what, if it's on a Monday, I don't have any travel baseball plans because all those tournaments are Thursday through Sunday.
well,
So
lawn seats are about $40 and I doubt they'll sell out. So we got a lot of time to work out a
okay.
plan if we want to do
Okay.
that. And
That'd be
speaking of
fun.
Sammy Hagar, you recently connected with one of our friends in Van Halen, if you
I
will,
did.
a former roommate of ours. Tell me a little bit about that.
I did. I
We haven't
did.
really
It
talked
is
about it.
no, we did. Yeah. So yeah, it's not often that I chat with any other 406ers other than you. So yeah, Jeff Tyler called me, actually reached out to me on Facebook Messenger one like a Tuesday, and he was like, "Hey, how far are you from Kent State University?" And I was like, "Well, I'm about 20 minutes from there. That's where my wife went to school." And he was going to be in town. He was in town that Thursday and Friday, Thursday night, Friday, for he was recruiting for his work. And so he was like, "Hey, by chance, can you get away?" Ironically, crew actually had baseball practice on the campus of Kent State University that night on Thursday night. And I was like,
Wow.
holy shit, I'm actually going to be there. And so Jeff came out and met me. And we went to, of all places, we went to B Dubs and just kind of hung out. And then he was actually staying in Streetsboro, which is even closer to my house in Twinsburg. And so I brought him back from B Dubs, and then we actually went up to El Chile Bravo and met with the guy, that little Mexican joint that we go to, and we hung out. It was awesome. God, it was so good to see him. I haven't seen him face to face since I graduated. So 25 years. I
Yeah,
haven't seen him in 25 years. Yeah.
that's
And,
cool.
luckily with the advent of social media, you're able to kind of keep up with people. But it was awesome. We got to hang out for, the evening and have a couple beers and have a couple shots and have a couple more beers and just reminisce. And it was very cathartic. It was really, really good to see him. It was awesome. Yeah.
That's
So
awesome. It,
yeah,
it was it took all I had to not jump in the car and drive 5 hours and join you
yeah,
guys for a drink or two because that would have been super fun. And
yeah,
yeah, it's been a while since I've seen him too, unfortunately, too long, but we have reconnected a bit. I've had a chance to talk to him on the phone a couple times. He told me about a recent concert that he went to. He went to go see Jacko Pierce. I know he probably told you that story. In fact, I told you to ask him to tell you that story because
yeah,
it's a pretty good one. And he's one of probably the only other people outside of you and I who know who Jacko Pierce is
yeah.
and probably loves them just as much. And that's really cool too. And actually, the first, is it the only? I have to really think back now, but I think the first and only time I've ever seen Jacko Pierce was with him. It was in Chicago when
Oh, is
he
that
still
right?
lived in Chicago, and we met Kerry Pierce that night, and we got pictures with him. So I've got a picture of me and Jeff and Kerry, and he signed a set list, which I think Jeff took the set list, but I think I got like a Xerox copy of it or something with a
Oh, did you really?
signature,
Okay.
or so I don't remember how it all worked out, but yeah, it was a really fun time and it was a really great show. And yeah, he's a great guy. It's awesome to get back in touch with him.
Yeah, the story that he has about Jacko Pierce. So to make a very long story short, and I only heard it once, and I was half drunk. I guess they were at an all seat, like it was a venue where everybody was sitting down, and they could actually beforehand they could send in requests, and he sent in a request, and he effectively told Jacko Pierce to rickroll the crowd. And
Hmm.
long story short, they did. He got to embarrass the hell out of his daughter, who was at the same age as when Jeff became a big Jacko Pierce fan. I'm not doing the story justice. It was awesome. And he actually showed me the video of it, which was super. I don't know if you've ever seen the video. It's super cool. So yeah, it was great. It was great to see Jeff. I told him, and I truly mean this. Like, I have to make sure that it's not 25 years before I see him again. I do have to give him massive congratulations. His Chiefs. He lives in Kansas City now. His Chiefs won an amazing Super Bowl, an absolutely amazing game. I will admit I was rooting against his Chiefs, but it was a
So was I.
great it was a really good game. I don't really feel like going into like a Super Bowl recap or anything, but it was just when when you're a Cleveland fan, and you can never root for your team, all you hope for is a good game, and I absolutely got one. So
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. That was definitely was a good game, and I'm sure he was psyched about that. I haven't talked with him since, but I guarantee he was over the moon about that, as he has been. He's had a lot of chances to be really excited
yeah,
about the Chiefs in the
yeah,
past
he
couple of
has.
years. So, and hey, this podcast is called the 411 from 406. He lived at
Yes, it is.
406. Maybe we just need to ask him to join us on one of these Zooms and have a conversation with us.
You know what? I'll bet he would do it. I'll
All
bet he
right.
would. That'd be fun. That'd
Well,
be fun.
first of all, let's get him to listen to this episode and see if we can seduce him into coming on and having a
There you go.
drink and reminiscing a little bit. That'd be good.
Make it happen. Make it happen, Jeff. You're always welcome.
So what else? What else do we have? I know we've got other stuff here.
Well, I mean, dude, we've got all sorts of it's WrestleMania season. The
I know.
Rumble is behind us.
Our three fans are going to groan because we're going to talk about wrestling again, but it's
Yeah.
really hard not to right now because
Yeah.
there's some shit going on. It's really, really
Yeah.
interesting. And I don't even know where to start because you and I haven't really talked wrestling in depth since the Rumble, right? I mean,
No,
not
we really haven't.
really. We
No.
haven't have we podcasted since then? I'm not even sure. I don't believe so.
Um, let me take a look. I don't know that we have. Let's take a look here real quick. Podcast. So in episode 86, we did movie soundtracks. Episode 85, we was that kind of like bonus episode after 84. 84, we really talked about the MCU, and it was kind of our
Mhm.
meh feelings. So no, I don't know that we did. I don't know that we even talked after the Rumble.
Yeah, without recapping the Rumble,
Yes.
obviously the big news from that outcome was that Cody Rhodes won the Royal Rumble. And we can
Yes.
just sort of summarize
Yep.
everything there. And it's probably worth also noting that him and CM Punk were the last two in the ring for
Yep.
that particular match. Punk had a legit real life shoot injury where he
Yep.
fucked up his
Tore his
tricep.
tricep. Yeah, tore
Yeah.
his tricep off the bone. Yep.
And there's some rumors going around like was he supposed to win the Royal Rumble? Maybe he was, and we just don't know it because they pivoted while they were in the ring. Not sure,
Yeah.
but I don't think so. If you remember, I actually I'll brag about this. I called Cody being the winner before the match ever happened
Yeah.
because I still think very strongly they're positioning him to take the title off of Roman. But what do you think, I guess, before we start talking about what's happened since, what do you think about Cody winning the Rumble and them setting this up for him to go Rocky 2 against Roman?
Right. Yeah, I talk about a amazing pun, Rocky too. We'll get
Oh,
to that.
oh yeah.
I, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I do not think Punk was scheduled to win the Rumble. I think Cody was always scheduled to win the Rumble. And I like it. I like it a lot. I thought for sure he was going to beat Roman last year.
Yes. Yeah, I'm pretty
I,
sure I
like
wagered
for sure.
heavily
Yeah,
in our
we
pool.
I think we all did. I think we all bet on. I'd have to go back and look. I'm pretty sure we all bet on Cody to win the Rumble, or I'm sorry, to beat Roman. I would think a year later, I probably would bet even more if I had more to bet. Um, right.
Yes.
Um, but and the only but is, and we can go back and talk about this. I've been saying for several years now that the only way that I really see the end of the bloodline, which is effectively the end of the Roman Reigns story, coming to an end, is with The Rock. I've been saying that for years now.
Sure.
That's like the monkey wrench that is thrown into Cody Rhodes finishing his story. and then now we've gotten several other monkey wrenches since then. I still think Cody Rhodes is going to win that match and walk out of WrestleMania I think he's going to be the one to beat Roman. And here's why I think that. Again, right now on February 15th, 2024, lots could change. The only reason that I have pause is they keep talking about the length of Roman's title reign, right? And he's coming up on Hulk. They're starting to talk and starting to actually recognize Hulk Hogan's reign and all these other reigns. The reality is, though, he's never going to get the record for the longest reign
You don't
ever.
think so?
Because it's like, no, because it's like 8 years. It's Bruno Sammartino. It's like there's no way.
Oh, they're sweeping that one under the rug then, because they
Well,
haven't
they
mentioned
are.
Bruno at
They
all.
are. I mean, he like if he wins at Mania, he would get to Hogan, but I'm pretty sure like Bob Backlund had it longer than that. And then there's so I just don't think he's ever going to get there, especially since like you always hear these rumblings about how he's kind of winding down his career. And I don't know if that's because of his leukemia, if that's because he wants to go on to be the movie star. But I mean, fuck, he's only wrestled what, 6 times the last year or something like that, 6 or 8
Right.
times. I mean, he's like, so I don't know. I don't see them continuing that story for another couple of years.
Oh, they can't.
Um,
They can't. It would be
they can't.
fucking terrible.
Yeah.
It would, people would be so upset. I mean, they
Yeah.
have enough talent in the company to
Well,
distract from that, but you're completely devaluing the title if
well,
it's owned by somebody who never defends it.
right. Right. And so, yeah. And now, especially with, and again, we're going to get there, but especially with all the changes at the top of the WWE from a storytelling perspective, I'm of the opinion that we'll call it the new guard, I think doesn't, even if the old guard wanted to do that story, I don't think the new guard does. And we'll set that aside for the time being, because I'm sure we're going to talk about the, 1,000-pound elephant in the room.
Yeah.
But yeah. I mean, I gotta think that on night 2 of WrestleMania, Cody Rhodes is holding that title over a defeated Roman Reigns. I just can't see it happening any other way. Now, I said the same thing last year and I was dead wrong. So who knows?
Yeah. Right. But I agree. This time, I mean, spoiler alert. I'll for our confidence pool, I'll put the most points on this
Yeah,
match. I
yeah,
really do think it's going to go that way because they I, the crowd has put Cody over so incredibly intensely at this point. It's just it's clear to me. All right, so let's just kind of get into this whole Rock thing. So The Rock comes
yes,
back. The Rock has been teased to have a match with Roman Reigns. I mean, they had the fucking posters printed at this point,
yep,
and the crowd doesn't want it. And it's fascinating to me
it
that
is.
on Raw, was it last week or maybe 2 weeks ago, the crowd is chanting Rocky sucks. And we
Mm-hmm.
haven't heard that since he was a heel. And I fully
Yep.
believe 100% that they, after, maybe not after the Rumble, maybe before the Rumble or well before, they had intentions to line the Rock up with Roman at WrestleMania. The biggest match at the biggest event, the 40th anniversary of this thing that has been just a juggernaut over the years. But the crowd is not letting it happen, and they are really pushing for Cody. So, I it's crazy because I don't. And then of course these injuries with Punk and Rollins, like it's not real clear on where everything could go. But I do think that they're going to work The Rock back into this story somehow, because right now they're saying Cody versus Roman at WrestleMania. Well, what the fuck? What's The Rock going to do? He's absolutely going to be added to this match. At the very least, it's going to be a triple threat match. It has to be. But they haven't filled in the gaps yet as to why he's beefing with Roman. So like they
Yeah.
kind of started down that route, and then they kind of pivoted because they actually, I mean, they're, and another thing that is kind of a big focal point of this conversation, they're turning Rock heel, which is
Yeah.
crazy. He came back
Yeah.
and everybody was cheering him and everybody loved him. And when he said he wanted to fight Roman, that's great. Everyone was over the moon. But then they realized, well, we want Cody. We still want Cody to finish this story as it is. And now they've got this situation where it's like, well, now what happens?
Yeah, so the other kind of wrinkle to this, and it's more than a wrinkle, is so I think since we last recorded, the God, there's so much going on in wrestling. The
I know.
WWE has sold the rights to Monday Night Raw to Netflix
Hmm.
to the tune of what, $5 billion?
Is it just Raw or was it Raw and SmackDown too?
Well, I think it was ultimately, I think it's going to be like the catalog, SmackDown, like I think it was everything, but to the tune of 5 billion, 500, no, 5 billion.
It was
It's a
something
shit ton of money.
astronomical, which is sweet
Yeah.
because that means I get to cancel Peacock as soon as that shit gets moved.
Yes.
It's the only
Um,
reason I still have it.
yeah. So I mean, it was a massive, massive deal. As part of that, or ancillary to that, The Rock is now a board member of
Hmm.
TKO, which is the parent company of both the WWE and the UFC. So this is where you're getting all of this money from. I mean, massive, massive amounts of money. And so that's the $5 billion over a 10-year period to make Netflix the home for Raw in the United States, Canada, Latin America, and the UK. Outside of the US, Netflix will also be the home of SmackDown, NXT, and pay-per-views, including mainstays like WrestleMania, Royal Rumble, blah blah blah. So I'm guessing, I'm not sure where inside the USA pay-per-views are going to stick. It says Raw's current deal, Rawing on the USA Network until October 2024. WWE's deal with Peacocks isn't set to expire until 2026. So if I had to guess, maybe you're still going to get like pay-per-views on Peacock until
Yeah,
20. I'm not sure how that
because
works,
Raw is
but
not on Peacock, so
right, right.
it's not going to change that.
So yeah, but you're right. So one the day after the Rumble, was it the day after or the week after? Must have been the week after. Cody Rhodes comes out and he says, comes to the ring and he tells Roman that effectively he's giving up his spot for WrestleMania. I want that title. I want to finish the story, but I'm not going to do it now. I'm not going to do it this year. He says, I've consulted with some friends and blah, blah, blah. And out comes The Rock. And this is the first time The Rock has been back in a while. And this is where you get the stare down between Rock and Roman. Now, this is before shit went sideways. This
Yeah,
is, to your point, I think this is when they were full, whole hog. Rock Roman was, night two at WrestleMania.
right. And also
And
about the same time that so I can't remember. Was this before Rollins and Punk got hurt, or maybe
no,
shortly
no, because Punk
after?
got hurt. No, because Punk got hurt in the Rumble.
Well, that's okay. So yeah, that's true. He got hurt in the Rumble, but I think they were continuing that what they were planning to do, maybe not knowing exactly what his condition
Right.
was at that time, because
Yeah.
I think Cody was going to go against Punk at WrestleMania. I don't think Cody was originally, let's say the beginning of 2024, end of 2023. I don't think he was the guy. I don't think they were planning on doing that. I think they were going to do Rock Roman as the main event for WrestleMania 40, and they were going to give Cody something else to do. Maybe they were going to get back to Cody, taking the title off of
Yeah.
Roman, but I don't think they clearly pivoted at this point.
Yeah, I think they did, and so then they came out at there was I think it was last Thursday.
Hmm.
They had a WrestleMania, what do they call it, a press conference. Well, it wasn't a press conference, I
Yeah,
mean, it was an event,
yeah, basically.
and that's where The Rock came out and effectively turned heel, slapped Cody Rhodes across the face. They started the whole bloodline. They showed the whole family tree. the whole 9 yards. But I agree with you 100%. I think that was a pivot to put Cody back in that main event. I think was a pivot. I'm not sure what you do with Rock though. I don't know if it's a 3-way. I don't know if you do like a tag team match on night 1 and then you do the main event on night 2. That's really fucking boring in my opinion, but
Yeah, that's too much.
I don't
I
know.
almost thought they would put the tag team in Perth maybe and have it like, for the Elimination
I
Chamber, which is coming up,
I
but that's too soon,
agree.
I think, to do that.
I agree. And I was reading the other day that Roman, Rock, Rollins, and Punk, none of them are going to Perth. So they're not even going to be there.
Well, Rollins is still hurt. I do.
Right. That's true.
I don't think
And Punk is
that's.
hurt. Yeah.
I don't think that's a work. I think Rollins is really hurt, but I
Oh, I
also
think he
do
is. Yeah.
think that Rollins will be at WrestleMania, and I think he will fight. So I think they're saving him for that, which means that they can't do a tag team match prior to Mania. Like they just it's not going to work with
No, if
Seth and
yeah,
his condition. So
if
I
I
don't.
was if I was a betting man, I think you're going to get Roman Cody on night 2, and I think you're going to get Seth and Drew McIntyre
Yes.
on Saturday night.
Drew McIntyre, no doubt, is winning the Elimination Chamber. I think that's
Oh,
because whoever wins that
yeah,
chamber is going against Rollins for the title at
yeah,
WrestleMania. 100%.
yeah.
There's nobody else that's going to get
I
that.
think that's what you're going to get. That still leaves The Rock out. So I don't know if you make him, if you put him in a 3-way, you make him a referee. I'm not sure yet, but
I
if I,
think you make it
like
a
I said,
three-way, but like I said, they still have to fill in the gaps. Like why? Because right now, what it feels like it's 2-on-1. It feels like a handicap match.
yes,
It feels like
uh-huh,
Rock and Roman versus Cody. And Seth
right.
comes out and cuts this fucking great promo on Raw
It was
last week
amazing.
where he's like, I'm gonna be your shield, quote unquote.
Yeah.
And I used to be the architect, and now I'm a visionary, and all this stuff. I mean,
Well, and
that was
it,
really good, but like that means The Rock has to be engaged because they were putting him in the main event and now he's
yeah.
got nowhere to go. That
I
no,
mean,
not a
you know,
chance.
I mean, I suppose what you could do, you could have all those guys wrestle twice, and you could have the Cody, or you could have the Seth Cody team go against the Roman Rock team, maybe on night 1. I don't know. I mean,
You could because it would definitely well, I don't know. Whatever it is, it has to be clean because if you're going to give the belt to Cody, if you're going to have Cody take it off of Roman, it has to be clean. Or
so I have two thoughts about that I wanted to run by you.
okay,
Okay.
okay, give it
So
to me.
my first now again, regardless of how we get there, I still don't know how we're going to get there, and this is why I love WrestleMania season, because I don't fucking know and I love it.
Man, you are one pathetic loser.
But let's just say, for argument's sake, it's night 2. The Rock's not involved. He's not, he's just not there for whatever reason. Cody almost has Roman beat. Out comes Solo, as he always does, to fuck shit up, to save the title for Roman. Okay. How amazing would it be if Dustin Rhodes comes out to save, to get rid of Solo, to
Yeah,
help his brother?
yeah,
I mean, I understand he's contracted to AEW right now. I just got goosebumps. That I think would be amazing. Okay, so that's one thought I
sure.
have.
Because what better way to finish the story than
Right,
with the
exactly.
help
Yeah,
of
yeah,
your brother? Because
exactly.
the whole point of finishing the story is to do what his
For his
dad
dad.
couldn't do.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
I just think that would be amazing. The other thing is, and I kind of hope this doesn't happen, but it would be heat, more atomic heat than ever, if Cody wins the belt, however he wins it,
Hmm.
and then fucking Damian Priest
Yeah. Oh, for
cashes in
sure.
and ends the night as the, I mean, like, can you fathom what that would feel like?
I mean, I absolutely could see that happening because that's basically what happened to his dad, right? Like Dusty won the
Yeah.
title at one point and then it got it taken away from him right away. And
Oh
Priest
my
has got to
God.
cash in already. And it sort of annoys me that they haven't come up with some storyline excuse for why Priest hasn't cashed in on Rollins, because Rollins is legit injured. So why isn't he trying to fucking
Right.
take the title off of him? I
Yeah.
don't know. But yeah, no, I think that's it's possible that could happen. What I think is probably going to happen, and it's going to be the lamest of all of these scenarios, is something on a future Raw maybe is going to happen where the three of them, or maybe the four of them, are in a ring. The four meaning Rock and Roman, Seth and Cody, and they're going at it, and they're cutting a great promo, and the Roman basically says something like, "Look, I'm the fucking head of the table. I'm the best one of the bloodline. I'm the guy." And the Rock's
And
gonna
then
be
Rock
like,
turns on him.
"Whoa, whoa, whoa, whoa,
Yeah.
slow your roll there, Chief. Let's not, he's going to take offense to something Roman says, and that's how they're going to work him in. I think that's
Yeah.
kind of a lazy way to do it, to be honest, but it's the easiest way to do it. And honestly, I mean, we're mid-February at this point. They've clearly had to pivot already, so they're probably going to go into fast forward mode to start telling the story about why it's going to be a three-way. Now, I could be wrong. I'm really pushing this just because I think it's the only way that makes sense to get The Rock involved and to wrestle
Yeah.
like they had originally planned, and to get Cody his chance to take home the belt.
So I read an article the other day, and again, who knows, it's on the internet, that as part of Rock's TKO deal, where he was a board member, he was promised, or it was written into his contract, that he would have a match at WrestleMania 40.
Sure.
Which again makes, whatever, makes sense. And I actually don't have a problem with him having a match. I don't know. I don't know how you get there. Here's what I don't think can happen. I don't think The Rock can walk out of anywhere with that title. It doesn't make
No,
any sense.
no,
It
it would
doesn't make any sense.
straight up piss me off if they do
Yeah.
that. They can't do that. And that's the whole reason I never wanted The Rock back to begin with.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
if he does face Roman for that match, like there's
If it's
no
for
reason
the
in the
title,
world.
there's no way Roman
No, there's
loses.
no
Yeah.
reason to believe that Roman would lose that match, and it would be the most anticlimactic thing. Would it be cool to see them both in the ring at the same time fighting each other? Yeah,
Yeah.
fuck yeah, of course it would. But it'd be better at like SummerSlam or something like that when
Yeah.
when Roman doesn't have the title anymore. Now that's when it becomes a great match, because who knows who
Right.
wins that match. But no, I don't want Rock versus Roman. It's
Yeah.
junk. It's a throwaway match. It's just
Yeah.
another
And
chance to put Roman over. We don't have to do
yeah.
that. He's already over.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And again, I've got no problem with Rock Roman. I just don't think it should be for the title. And so I guess my point
Right.
in saying that is, if you're going to have a three-way, again, it's going to be either Cody or Roman that wins that
Sure,
match. There's
sure.
no way that Rock wins that match. In my opinion, there's just none.
Yeah, I 100% agree. It's not going to create any more ambiguity over who's going to walk
No.
out with the belt. It's just going to make it more fun. And I think they
Right.
have to do it because they've got to find a place to shoehorn the Rock in somewhere, because they had what they wanted to do, and the crowd said, "Nah, fuck you. We don't want that."
Yeah. And I guess, you know what, now that I'm talking through it, the three-way actually makes a lot of sense, even though it's the whole 2-on-1 thing, because how much better would it be than to overcome the 2 versus 1, right?
True, but they've got a month to create a
They
storyline
do.
around that.
They
They've
do.
got multiple
They do.
Raws. I don't know what The Rock was contracted for in terms of how many appearances he had before WrestleMania, but they can set something up. They
Yeah.
absolutely can. I would like it to, I mean, if I thought of it, it's probably not a great idea, because I'm not in this business, and I'm a lazy thinker when it comes to the wrestling storyline. So I'm hopeful that they do something a little bit more creative and fun.
Well, so first of all, two things on that. One, don't sell yourself short, because you're like, especially when it comes to, no, seriously. But the other thing is, think about this. WrestleMania is not for the like tried and true hardcore wrestling fans. It's
100%.
not. Some of the other
It's the
shows
hook
are, but
to get
it's
everybody
the hook.
who's not
Exactly.
in. Yes.
So like a lot of times, if you think back through the years, the WrestleMania shows are kind of like, it's a spectacle, but like the matches themselves and the storylines themselves you don't really get a ton of twists and turns. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like for
This
the
is the
most
one
part.
they
So
really cater to
right.
the
And again, I get it.
watching
I know,
audience.
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
The
okay.
other
What
thing, did
one?
you see?
Yeah.
I think I sent you a TikTok or Instagram reel about this really great theory that never came to play, but I actually think it would have been really great, especially if I hadn't heard it from somebody online, where this press conference thing that they had last Thursday, instead of it unveiling the way that it did, it would have been like a contract signing between Rock and Roman, and they would have signed their contract, and everyone would have been excited. And then Cody comes out and says, "Oh no, fuck you guys. I still have the ability to choose, and I choose Roman." And they'd be like, "Well, we already signed the contract." He's like, "That's cool. You guys fight on night one. I'll fight Roman
Yeah.
on night two." And
That
then
works
Roman would
too.
have had to have gone twice. Now, the only thing that I don't like about that is that it's it's not really a clean victory, right? Because yeah, Roman's going
He
to
has
be
to fight an
gassed
extra
after the
match. Yeah.
first match. So
Yeah.
like you can't really do that. Like if you're going to give it to Cody, you got to give it to him as clean as possible, because you
I
got to
agree.
throw him over the moon. You got to put him as over as you possibly can. There's no better chance you're going to have to do that than beating Roman cleanly.
I agree. I agree. Um, okay. One more hypothetical. What does my boy Gunther do at WrestleMania? Does he, I mean, does he lose the IC title? Does he go again? Like, I don't know where
I think he does, because sorry to interrupt, but what I think will happen, and what I actually legitimately hope will happen, is that Cody walks away with the belt, Gunther walks away without the belt, Gunther goes after Cody.
they slot him in. Yeah.
I think Gunther is ready for main event level shit at
Yeah.
this point.
Yeah.
He's a fantastic talent. He's pretty good with the promos. I feel like he should ditch the Imperium thing, but whatever. Like he can,
Yeah.
the bad guys always have a faction these days, so cool. Like run with that if you need to. But I think he's ready to start challenging for world titles. What I would like to see, and again, everything is sort of in this big sort of whirlwind tornado because of some of the injuries and stuff. I'd kind of like to see Sami Zayn go after it and get it, because, and I don't know where they're
The
going with
IC
him,
title.
because yeah, because if you've seen, because Sami Zayn is still like, I think you call him A-list. I don't know. I mean, he's maybe not Roman level,
Oh
but
yeah.
he's definitely A-list. But what the fuck are they gonna do with Sammy? And they're doing this weird storyline with him where he just keeps losing matches, kind of John Cena-esque. I don't really know what's going on there, but
Yeah.
I think a good thing to sort of put him back in a good trajectory would be to give him the Intercontinental title. And I think that would be awesome. Unless they're going to completely pivot and turn Sammy heel, which I would be really bummed about, because I really love him as a face. But he's doing these weird interviews where
Yeah.
this girl's asking him all these questions. He's like, well, I gotta win. He's acting really bizarre. So I kind of feel like that's maybe it's either going to be something really crazy like the Intercontinental belt, or maybe they turn him heel and he goes out because he snaps because he's been losing so
Yeah.
much or something.
Yeah. I think still because he got a legitimate injury a couple months ago where he was on the shelf for a while. I almost wonder if he's doing some of this stuff just as to like ease him back in so he doesn't have a full schedule. He's not, you know what I mean? Like he's wrestling, but he's not, I'll bet you he's not wrestling every night, the way some of them do. I don't know.
No, probably not.
I like Sammy a lot. Again, I mean, you've got so many guys and gals at the top of the card. The Bailey story is amazing. I love that story.
Yeah, I think it's good. And I think they're very obviously setting her up to take the title at WrestleMania.
Almost definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, almost definitely. Well, it's gonna be now. When is Elimination Chamber?
It's in like a week and a half, maybe.
Is it really?
Yeah. The problem is it's in fucking Australia, which means it starts at 5 in the morning or 4 in the morning or something. So we're going to be watching it well after it airs. So turn off your notifications on your phone. But
it is February 24th. So it's 9 days from today, which that is next Saturday.
Yeah.
At 5 in the morning or whatever. So
I thought for a hot second they were going to put Jey Uso against Gunther for the Intercontinental title.
That works. Yeah, that
It
works.
does, but I also think they're really going to push for Jay versus Jimmy at WrestleMania instead, because that would be I think that would be a better draw, to be honest.
Brother versus, but yeah, that makes it twin versus twin. That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's funny. I've never been a big fan of the 2 night WrestleMania, and I'll stand by that. I'm still
I
not a
agree.
huge fan of it.
You and me both.
Um,
Well, I like it in the sense that it gives us something to do, you
right,
and me, for 2 straight
right.
nights. But at the same time, it's like it takes the storylines and it stretches them out way too far.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but I will say probably this year more than years past. And how many years have they been doing 2 nights? Is this the
Did they start at
4th year
COVID?
now?
I want to
I
say
think
they
they
started at
started.
COVID,
I think they
2020,
started
right?
in COVID. Yeah, so this is the 4th year they've been doing it. And I guess at this point, I bet they never go back. Just
Oh
because it's
God,
two
no.
nights, two
No.
nights of ticket sales, 2 nights of, I hope and pray they just keep it to WrestleMania. Like no other. I don't want 2 nights to the Rumble. I don't want 2 nights of SummerSlam. I don't know. Anyways, what I will say is this year, probably more than other years, they appear to have so many top tier talents at like the top third of the card that
Yeah,
I think they would have a really difficult time getting all of that stuff into one night. So I'm actually glad this year that they've
right.
got 2 nights to, because you're going to be able to have two arguably like super cards, and there's not going to be very many, if any, like hold letdown matches,
Yeah,
like boring, like popcorn matches. I don't
yeah.
think.
I think the WWE actually has a really good problem right now, and they have too much talent,
Yeah.
or too much drawing power. I mean, you
Yeah.
could make the argument that Punk is too old and, maybe not really performing all
All
that
you got to do
great,
is
but nobody
all you got,
fucking cares.
no, all you got to do is listen to the pop that dude gets when he gets
Yeah.
out. And yeah.
Well,
So
it really says a lot about how important a good promo is, because as long
yeah.
as they can talk, the in-ring stuff is almost, I don't want to say inconsequential or irrelevant, but the stuff that I really get charged for when I watch this stuff is that it's the
It's the
promos. It's
promos.
when it's
Yeah.
when Rollins and Cody, it's the lead up to the big event. So,
Yeah.
but before we move on, I want to ask one more thing as it relates to WrestleMania. Do we think that John Cena is going to be involved in any way, shape, or form in this 2 night event?
I would think, I don't know that he will wrestle because I don't know where he slots in to
He
wrestle.
might. I think he could. He might.
Oh, he could.
But
Yeah, he could. Um, I mean, it's WrestleMania 40, right? I think you're going to see Hogan. I think you're going to see Stone Cold. I think you're going to see
oh
Shawn
well.
Michaels. I think you're going to see these guys for WrestleMania 40. And it might just be a backstage thing. It might be like a welcome to WrestleMania intro promo kind of thing. John Cena is one that I don't know. I guess I just I don't know where I see him slot in. I still would love to see him win one more title, so it puts him above Flair. I don't know that Triple H will
Yeah.
do it.
No, I don't think they will. So, and that's exactly why I don't think they're going to have Roman keep the title, because the WWE isn't really interested in breaking their own records. Like they could have,
Yeah,
like Cena's like right there. He could take that
yeah,
record
he's
and
tied with
probably
Flair. Yeah,
deservedly should. They
yeah,
won't do it. I guarantee they won't do it. And Cena probably wouldn't do it either.
yeah. So I don't know. I guess I don't know where he slots in. I mean, he's not a tag guy. He's not going to be at the. He's certainly not anywhere near a title. I mean, is he a U.S. title guy? Is he an intercut? He's not going to go against Gunther, I wouldn't think. So I don't know where he slots in. I'd love to see him. I've been a Cena guy for years, but I'm not sure
Yeah.
where he slots in.
So here's an interesting thought, and it just kind of popped into my head, and I haven't fully worked it out. So forgive me if it feels a little broken, but I'm thinking, how cool would it be if this match, let's say it's Cody versus Roman, let's say it just stays that way and keep The Rock out of it for now. How cool would it be if they have this epic match and it's it's coming to the conclusion of the match, and somebody from the bloodline comes out, and then Seth comes out and saves the day. But maybe it's Solo, whatever.
Yeah.
And then, but somehow they both get, knocked out or whatever, and then somebody else from the bloodline comes out, and then it's fucking John Cena. Like
John Cena.
I'm picturing this Avengers Endgame type scenario where it's like the good versus the bad, and the good guys
Yeah.
just keep coming out to save each other. Maybe Hogan comes out and throws a punch. I don't think that they'll let him do that, but like, how cool would that be if like all of these faces rallied around, Cody
Around
Rhodes
Cody to win to
to
finish the
win the
story.
title, and then they all
Yeah.
fucking hoist them up at the end, and it's this big celebration. I mean, like, this is WrestleMania 40. Like, they have got to go
Yeah.
for that kind of a pop, that kind of reaction. That would be epic.
Yeah, I could I could see something like that. I really could. Again, to me, the perfect end to that story would be Dustin, right?
Mm.
Solo comes out and then
Yeah.
Dustin comes out, and like, but yeah, I mean, the scenario that you've just laid out is very reminiscent of when, like, who was it? Christ, was it like, I don't know if it was like Sting or Luger beat Hogan for the title in WCW, and they
Yeah.
they all came out. They were all in the ring. It was the
Yeah.
WCW finally beat the NWO,
Right.
and it was
It's
like,
like
that kind of thing.
you toppled the
Uh,
giant, right?
yeah, yeah. I guess the other, like, in WWE, there was a scenario like that when like when Lex Luger slammed Yokozuna, right? It was like, oh my God, he finally did, it was like the big thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know. I could see it, and I think if something like that is going to happen, which, let's be honest, there's a lot of fan service there, right?
Oh, yeah.
Um,
But we're
this is
also
the
a
only
sucker for good fan service.
Well, they are, and I guess, to my point earlier, this is the only show where you could do something like that, right? At
Where they
WrestleMania,
should
where
do
it's
something
or they
like
should,
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
It could be that. I mean, because Roman
could
is
be.
the modern day, Andre the Giant, or
He
the,
is. Yeah, yeah,
Thanos, or whatever you want to call it. Like,
yeah.
he's the guy that's held this title for so long. So it wouldn't surprise me to see like this, Cody wins the title and all these guys come out to support him and all this stuff happens. Like, they could really do some fun stuff with this. I
Yeah.
would love to
So,
be a fly on the wall in the creative room for
oh God,
for
yeah.
these guys.
So let me ask you this. I got one more question about WrestleMania, and then I want to move on because we got some other stuff to talk about. So we have talked several times, probably for several years at this point, about how the WWE has kind of worked themselves into a corner when it comes to Roman, right? And we have said something on the to the effect of, well, they, they've really screwed themselves because they don't have anybody big enough to take the title off Roman, right? Like,
Yep.
they don't have the next guy. They haven't built the next guy, blah blah blah. I think at this point it's probably fair to say that Cody is the next guy. And so my question to you is Cody big enough? Is he ready? Is it going to be a letdown? Like, is he big enough to topple Roman after 3 years at this point?
So that is a great question, and it's a very interesting answer, I think. And I don't know if I'm right or not, but here's what I would say to that is that yes, I think Cody is the guy. He is the baby face to take
Mm-hmm.
the title off of Roman. I don't think there's any doubt about that. What I think is the sort of asterisk to that answer is that I don't think the WWE universe will let any babyface stay champion for nearly as long as someone like Hulk Hogan did, right? Like, they're just not, they're going to get bored much more quickly with a good guy champion than they are a bad guy. Because when the bad guy's a champion, there's always another good guy who's going to try to
Chasing.
dethrone the king.
Yeah.
So I think Cody is absolutely that guy. I 100% feel like they should give him the belt, but I don't think it's going to last very long. And that's not necessarily a dig on Cody in any way, shape, or form, because I think he's phenomenal. He's way more interesting now than he's ever been, but I just don't think the universe is going to stick with it. I think they're going to get bored. And you could never, in this day and age, you could never have a babyface keep the title for as long as Roman does.
Oh no.
It cannot happen.
Well,
So I don't know how long he keeps it. I don't know how that works. I think he'll have maybe a year's worth of title defenses, but I do think he's the guy. At this point, I mean, you could give it to a Sami Zayn, but I think every baby face that you could possibly give it to, I think they fizzle out faster. And I think they want to try to give it to somebody who could have a little bit more longevity, who could stay over for a longer amount of time. Right now, that's Cody, and the crowd has spoken, right? Like they have said that.
Yeah.
They chanted Rocky sucks because everybody wants to see Cody have that belt. So I'm not sure if that answers your question, but yeah, that's what I think.
It does. No, it does. And I think so you answered actually two questions there. One is Cody the guy? And you said yes. And I agree with you. I think he is. I think they've done enough to build Cody to the point where he is big enough to take that title off Roman. I also agree with you 100% that a babyface will not hold that title nearly as long as Roman has. But I don't think that is a reflection on Cody. I think it's a reflection on
the culture,
babyface versus heel in general.
Yes.
Like,
yeah,
generic babyface, generic heel. I agree with you, and I think you pointed out. It's like there's just more stories there when a heel has the title, right? Like there's you can screw over the babyface and make him more of a babyface. You can't screw over the heel and make him more of a heel. You know what I mean? Like when you screw over the heel, everybody's happy about it.
Well, it's easy to boo the bad guy. It's harder to cheer the good guy. I mean, let's
100%.
use John Cena as an example, right? John Cena is a prime example of this. He's won as many titles as Ric Flair. He got to a point in his career where everybody got sick of his shtick, and half of the crowd was singing "Let's Go Cena," and the other half of the crowd was
Cena sucks,
saying Cena sucks. Right? That's 100% what will happen to Cody. Like people will start to turn on him. And at that point, they'll have a decision to make. Do we take the belt off of Cody, or do we make Cody the next Roman Reigns? Do we make him the next ultimate heel? Because I think he could do that. I think he's got that in his DNA where he could be a straight up fuck you, everybody, I don't care about you kind of guy. And I think that would be really, really interesting. But you got to give him, a lot of time to be the champion as a babyface.
Well, I mean that, there's the old adage in wrestling, the bigger the heel, the bigger the babyface, the bigger the babyface, the bigger the heel, right? And think about where Roman was before this heel run. He was the Hulk Hogan, right? He was the ultimate babyface for years and years and years. And to the point where Vince was shoving him down our throats.
And we hated
him as a face. And then look what's happened. They turned him and he became an atomic heel.
Yeah.
The likes of which arguably we've never seen. Now, when it comes to the biggest heel in the history of wrestling, it's time. We got to talk about it. Vincent Kennedy McMahon. Holy shit.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, holy shit, maybe, but can we really act surprised about any of this stuff? I mean,
no.
Does it shock anybody that all of this really shady shit happened behind the scenes and that he was paying people off and all this? I will say though, before you give your thoughts, the WWE has done a masterful job of saying,
sweeping it on,
this sucks, but look over here. Like there's a bunch of other stuff. It's really fortuitous that WrestleMania 40 is right around the corner, right? Because we've got some really interesting things to focus on and pay no attention to the man behind the curtain.
Well, if you want to put your tinfoil hat on for a moment, and then we'll get back to kind of the measure at hand, right?
Yeah.
to your point, right? So you got this bombshell story about Vince McMahon that comes out, and we'll get into that a little bit. I don't want to dwell on it actually, but then you've got within what the same week or 7 days, 10 days, you've got the TKO announcement. You've got The Rock comes online. You've got you turn The Rock heel. You've got the save Cody. You like to your point, they've done a pretty fucking good job of like diverting
Yeah.
that news cycle away from arguably the worst thing that the WWE has had since the steroid scandal, right? And it's I don't want to say it's gone because it's not, but I haven't heard much about it.
Well, you're leaving out another semi-significant part, which is Brock Lesnar got roped into
Well,
all of this,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And allegedly, and I do believe this, it's all, talk, it's all dirt sheet material at this point, but allegedly he was going to be in the Royal Rumble. He was going to come back and he was going to do some spots, and I think they gave that to Braun Breaker instead,
Braun
which
Breaker,
which
and you,
is good, and it makes a lot more sense because now everyone's like, yes, we want more of this instead of
yeah,
Brock Lesnar coming in and just destroying things. So
yeah.
and Brock
So
Lesnar at this point, like, do we ever even see him in the ring again
no,
for this?
no,
We
you
probably
know,
don't.
no, and I mean, Brock Lesnar was effectively a recluse, anyways. He didn't like
Yeah,
people. He lives in
right.
the middle of Idaho. Where is he? Idaho, Iowa, where like
Well, he went to
wherever he
school in
is.
Iowa, but I think he also grew up in Minnesota. So
Okay,
yeah,
so
who
yeah,
knows where the hell he is?
he's in the middle of the woods on a farm with Sable, and they're doing their things. He hates people. He's got a shit ton of money between UFC and WWE and
Yeah.
Sable's money. They never need another dime. No, I would be shocked if we ever see Brock Lesnar associated with the WWE ever again. I think he's gone.
And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, only because I don't know all the details of the situation, right? So,
Yeah,
like, if if he had a part in what was happening there, like if he, I don't know, this gets into really sketchy territory, but it sounds like that Vince McMahon was involved in, you know, ask.
trafficking is
Yes,
yeah is
I guess trafficking is what it's 100% what you call it. But like the idea is that Vince McMahon allegedly, videotaped or had this girl videotape herself to send to Brock Lesnar to convince him to like resign or to come back to the WWE. Like, I don't know if Brock is totally at fault for something that he didn't ask for, or I, I don't know. I
yeah
don't know the details. It's really tough to say because there's a lot of stuff out there that nobody knows. But
yeah.
if he was an
Yeah, so
unwilling participant, then that kind of sucks. But at the same time, like it's not a good look, and we know the WWE will be quick to cancel people
yeah.
if something happens, a la Hulk Hogan.
So I mean they have effectively removed Brock Lesnar from their website. They've removed all references to him. Um, I think you're right. I think in all of the stuff that I have read, I did read through the lawsuit. I read through the text messages, which are
Yeah,
really difficult to read.
that stuff's
Um,
messed up.
it is. The the feeling that I get is Brock, I don't think did anything. He was clearly like I don't think he actually in fact I don't think he is a defendant. I don't think he was named other than
Right,
he was named well they're clearly referring to him because they're referring to somebody,
yeah,
a WWE superstar who was also a former UFC heavyweight champion,
right.
where there's
He wasn't
one of
named, but
no
it's the
but
writing on the wall is
right
pretty clear.
but again, I guess to your point, it wasn't that he did anything wrong. It was that these things were done maybe on his behalf without him know or in order to lure him, but not
Right.
like he didn't do it. I
That was the
guess.
impression I got, but I
Yeah,
will say that I don't know the whole
yeah.
story,
That
obviously.
that's kind
So
yeah. So that's kind of where I am too. I think the difference with Brock Lesnar is there's zero motivation for him in his mind to ever come back to the WWE. My perception of him is that the reason he was doing wrestling because was for the money. He didn't
100% for the
enjoy
money.
he didn't enjoy the business. It was purely a business transaction. And if that's the case, he literally has zero motivation ever because he's got more money than he ever knows what to do with. And so there's that motivation's gone.
I bet he enjoyed the business, but I would agree with what you're saying for the most part. I think that he has no issues with distancing
Yeah,
himself from what's going on here, especially if his name is getting dragged in the mud with Vince
right.
McMahon, which is it's a really gosh, I don't know. I mean, to think that this is how, like Vince McMahon spent so much of his life trying to build this company and his
Yeah.
legacy is going to be so shit on because of everything that's coming out right now.
Well,
And he
I mean,
resigned, so like he's not a part of the company anymore, and it's not surprising, but it's really unfortunate.
it bums me out as as a fan of professional wrestling because Vince McMahon, up until 3 weeks ago or whenever this was I think kind of pretty universally thought of as the greatest wrestling promoter in the history of the sport, right? Like
And still is. I mean,
and still probably is. Yeah, and
these
still probably is.
accusations
Yeah,
don't change that. But
they
in
don't.
terms of the respect that he earns from being the greatest promoter,
It's gone. Yeah,
it's tainted
yeah.
significantly.
Well, I mean, the only correlation, and it's probably not fair, but it's I think close. It's it's Harvey Weinstein, right? I mean, he's like Weinstein was this great Hollywood producer whose name has effectively gone to shit.
Yeah,
Doesn't change what he did, but you're never going to talk about that again. You're
right.
never going to talk about how, all the movies Harvey Weinstein produced without thinking about right? This cloud over him. I think Vince is going to be the same way. You're going to hear Vince McMahon's name and and again for those of you that are listening to this that are an hour and 40 minutes into this podcast and have no idea what we're talking about. Vince McMahon has been accused of some truly horrific shit. I don't really want to get into it, but it's sexual trafficking. It is coercion. It's just it's it's really difficult to even read the the lawsuit against him. It's even more difficult to read some of the text messages and those kind of things that they've gotten off of Vince's phone and people like John Laurinaitis and like some other people. Suffice to say, it's like, and again, innocent until proven guilty. So that's why I'm kind of tiptoeing around, but like, it's it's pretty horrific.
What's really interesting is there is a Netflix documentary in production about Vince McMahon. I think it's Netflix, and Bill Simmons, who is the, famous sports writer, is involved in putting that together. And I think that documentary was mostly done before all of this stuff happened. And I'm not sure whether or not the whole thing is gonna get redone as a result of that, because I think a documentary on Vince McMahon would be probably the most interesting documentary you could ever watch because of everything that he's gone through. I mean, maybe it's just for me, but like, the business of wrestling is a really fantastically interesting thing, and how his father did all of this stuff, and then how Vince kind of swooped in and then took it to the next level and kind of defied a lot of what his father wanted.
Yeah.
Like Vince McMahon Sr. did not want to fuck with all the other territories, and Vince McMahon Jr., who is the one that we know, kind of went in there and did exactly that. So I think his story is really, really fascinating, and I hope it gets told as accurately as possible. But yeah, the whole thing is really messed up, and fortunately, somehow it has not tainted the business. Like it is full force, still moving forward. The
Yeah.
timing of it is probably more fortuitous for the WWE than maybe it seems, just because they have something to,
Yeah.
cover all of this stuff with at this point.
So two things. One, if there are people, whether it's Vince or John Laurinaitis or anybody else for that matter, that have done and have we've it's proven that they've done, you know, criminal things, I hope that they are held to account. And if that means they need to pay fines or go to jail or whatever, like I hope that that happens. I do. On the other side of that coin, I think it's pretty clear if you've ever listened to this podcast or you know me for more than 5 minutes, my love for professional wrestling runs very, very deep. And I hope that after this is settled and after the dust settles, to your point, Pip, I hope that the business of professional wrestling isn't tarnished by, and I don't think it will be
Yeah.
in the end, but I hope that the wrestling business continues to flourish, kind of in the face of this. And again, I think it will, right? I mean, there have been black eyes on professional wrestling, whether it's the steroid scandal or Chris Benoit or whatever it is.
Well, I think something that really works in the favor of the WWE right now is the fact that they did get acquired by this TKO Group Holdings company,
Yeah.
right? Because now with Vince McMahon leaving, it seems like they're under new management, for lack of a
Yes.
better term.
Yeah.
So it's easy to say, well, yeah, Vince built all this, but he's gone now and somebody else is watching it. So we'll let the business continue. We'll forgive the
Yeah.
business for what happened. We won't forget Vince McMahon. Like,
Right.
obviously, his legacy will be tarnished significantly because of this, but
Right.
I don't think it's going to affect the business because the business is still being run as usual, and it's going to
Yeah.
continue to move forward because it's got a lot of dollars behind it and it's got some smart people behind it. It's not like Vince vacated and nobody knows what the hell to do because nobody can do what he does. Like, Paul Levesque, Triple H, like he's the one that seems to be kind of running the show there, and he's got a lot of people that he's been around. Bruce Pritchard, I think, is still there, and you know, business as usual. Like they're going to keep doing that, and
Yeah.
hopefully, the Vince McMahon thing doesn't really ever have any sort of significant impact on
Yeah.
what we're seeing.
I will I will be honest with you. I am rooting so hard for Bruce Pritchard to not be in any way involved in any of this shit. Because I
Same.
I really like Bruce. I really love his podcast.
I do too.
I'm,
Same.
I'm
Yeah.
just I'm rooting for him and I don't think he is, knock on, like, at this point he hasn't been named, he's not, but like I'm rooting
Right.
so hard for him to not be involved at all.
Well, like huge fans like you and I, we hear John Laurinaitis' name and like, oh, geez, I mean, that's a deep cut right
Right.
there. So
Yeah.
it wouldn't be strange to hear somebody else's name like Bruce Pritchard.
No.
So, I'm in the same boat with you. Like, I really like Bruce. I think he's a good dude, and he's been with the company since, well, on and off since after WrestleMania 3, I think.
Yeah.
So, I think he's a really strong talent in terms of, the business side of the company. So I'm
Yeah.
really hoping that he's not involved in any
Yeah.
of the stuff or his name doesn't come up. I mean, but the problem is the thing that I really have a problem with when it comes to all these accusations and things is that I have a really hard time believing that nobody else knew that Vince was doing this shit, you know, and that goes all the way to people like Triple H. Like I
It
don't want
it
him to be
does.
involved either. I don't want Bruce to be involved. I don't want Nick Khan to be involved. Like I don't want any of these guys to do that. But like, I'm sorry if you're really engaged in the business and what's going on there. You can't tell me you didn't know the shit was going on. And there's some people out there that are calling for Triple H's head because they're saying, he's complicit. How could he not know this stuff is going on? And there's no proof, to be clear and to be fair.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing out there that implicates him in any way. But I mean, logic dictates. I tend to agree.
Yeah.
Like, like Triple H married Vince's daughter, so like you
Right.
can't tell me that he's not as entwined with the family as anybody could possibly be. So
Yeah. I
did
mean,
he not know that was going on? And if he did, does that make him just as guilty?
yeah. I mean, he clearly, yes, he clearly is close to the family. He's part of the family. I guess in my mind, like I see what you're saying, but at the same time, it's like, it- okay, like if you're looking at it from Vince's perspective, right? Is your son-in-law the kind of person you're going to bring into that? You know what I mean? Like, probably not. That's the only thing, right? Like if you're Vince and you've got this kink, right? And you're a piece of shit guy, right? I don't know. Do you actually maybe you shield your son-in-law from that? I don't know. I hear speculation. I have no
Yeah.
idea. In fact, I read an article the other day that suggested that that's why Shane left
Mm,
back in the day.
maybe.
Was he started to get wind of some of this shit and he was like, I'm out. Like, I don't want anything to do with it.
Yeah.
I,
Maybe.
so I, yeah,
And if that's the
I don't know.
case, then hey,
Good
much
on him.
respect to Shane.
Yeah.
Like that's awesome, but
Yeah.
who knows?
So, all right. So let's end on a positive here. So I'm looking at the announced matches for Elimination Chamber Perth.
Okay.
Okay. So we're 9 days away. They got 4 matches announced. They got the Judgment Day, Finn Balor and Damian Priest versus British Strong Style, Pete Dunne, and Tyler Bate.
Okay.
Who do you think wins that match?
I I have to think it's the Judgment Day.
Okay.
I mean I know who Pete Dunne is. I know the
He's the
British
guy that like breaks
strong
fingers,
style.
right? Is that
I,
he like bends fingers and stuff?
I don't know. He's on that shitty game that we play, so and he's a
Yes.
terrible fucking character.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah,
Okay.
I don't know. Judgment Day because I've heard of him.
Okay.
That's my take.
I don't think there's any chance that this is a up in the air, but Rhea Ripley versus Nia Jax for the title.
100% Rhea Ripley
Rhea Ripley,
retains.
the Australian in Perth.
Right.
Who's
Yeah.
okay?
And it's like she's the biggest thing on the female side. So
Yeah,
like taking that belt off of her before WrestleMania
right.
would be the dumbest thing to do.
Okay, and then you've got 2 elimination chamber matches right now. On the women's side, you got
Mhm.
Becky Lynch, Bianca Belair, Liv Morgan, and then 3 TBDs. I gotta think though, the winner is going to come out of those 3 that we already know.
For sure.
Becky, Bianca, or Liv. I'll be honest with you, I wouldn't be shocked to see any of those 3 win. I could see a scenario where all 3 of them win.
Yeah, I
Liv
could
just came
too.
back.
They're
Liv just came
really
back.
pushing Becky though. I feel like it's going to be
Becky, I think, yeah.
because when you think about it, we're ramping up to WrestleMania 40.
Mhm.
It's like it has to be the biggest card, the biggest champion versus the number one contender in every fashion. I don't think anybody's more popular than Becky. I don't think Bianca is, although I will say it's very close, probably. And I really
Yeah.
do like Bianca. I think Becky's the front runner, 100%. And they've been teasing that significantly. So it's got to be her. I think she wins and she goes on to Philadelphia to fight Rhea.
Okay. All right. Do you ever see a scenario where you get a 3-way there? You get Rhea and Nia and Becky?
No,
It's an
only
interesting 3-way.
because I just gotta say that I don't want to see a 3-way with, well, anyways. I don't see it only because I still think a 3-way for the Roman and Cody and Rock is gonna
Okay. All
happen.
right.
And I think
That's
two
fair.
three
Okay.
ways is
Okay.
probably not
That makes sense.
sensible, but No, I think it would be better if it was just Becky Lynch versus Rhea Ripley. And I don't know
Okay.
who wins. I won't go that far. But yeah, that's the way I see that playing
Okay.
out. But Liv
Okay.
Morgan would be a close second only because she's just coming back. Depends on what kind of pop she gets. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. And then the other match is Drew McIntyre, Randy Orton, Bobby Lashley, LA Knight +2 for the Elimination Chamber. I think we both think that Drew's going to win that, right?
I think Drew, no doubt, is going to win that. I think LA Knight's stock is dropping, and it's going to drop farther. And it's not because I don't like him or that I'm a hater. I just don't. I think there was some kind of meteoric, push behind him, and the crowd. I think it's because of the fans, right? The fans really loved him and they liked what he was doing.
Yeah,
but he's fucking boring. I'm sorry, I just don't think he's anything. He's not a character. He's not that interesting, and he doesn't have a good finisher. And overall, it's just kind of like meh. It's total meh. And I don't dislike him. I like him. I could see him going against Gunther maybe or something fun like that. But
yeah,
no, he's not going against the title.
So it's funny. It's funny you said just that thing. So when I'm watching the Royal Rumble, I like live tweet, right? I'm tweeting while I'm watching the show, and LA Knight comes out, and I don't even remember if he was in a match or in the Rumble or whatever. It doesn't matter. And I was just like, I kind of feel like I totally missed the entire like LA Knight ascension, because I kind of take maybe 3 or 4 months off of wrestling. Not that I don't watch it, but just like I'm not watching Raw. I'm not, and I totally missed like where LA Knight came from. I just missed that. And to your point, he's like, he's the crowd is behind him and whatever, but like, he's fucking boring. He's like our age.
Well, he's like, here's what he is. He's all promo and no in-ring talent, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say no. Like, he's not bad, and I don't want to be unfair to him or shit on anyone who's a fan of his, but like, he's just not that interesting with so many characters and so like with the Seth Rollins of the world and the CM Punks and all these guys out there. Maybe it's a little unfair because he's stuck on SmackDown and nobody wants to be there, but there's not a fucking chance in the world he goes up and gets a title shot. I just don't think that's possible. Yeah. I'll totally eat shit if I'm wrong, but I don't see it happening.
Yeah, no, I would tend to agree with you. Well, let's see. We've done it's 11 o'clock. We've done an hour and a half.
It's pretty good.
Which is awesome. So let's see. On that note, let's see. It is the 15th of September. We got 9 days until
September. What the hell are you talking about?
I'm sorry.
What were you drinking tonight? Do you think it's September?
I was drinking Jack Daniels. I'm sorry. It's February 15th. We got 9 days until Elimination Chamber. I think we're something like 50 days away from WrestleMania, which is it's going to be an awesome ride. I cannot wait. I know you're not going to come out here, but we're going to get together. We'll watch it on Zoom or we'll text or what have you. I don't know. What else you got? You got any closing thoughts?
No, I'm excited about Mania. It's going to be great. I do think we have the potential to be able to watch it together, at least remotely via Zoom, possibly.
Yep.
Because I will be driving 15 hours home from Florida to get here on Saturday night of WrestleMania. So that day, the first night of WrestleMania, I will have driven 15 hours. So it'll be a bit of a struggle, but I mean, no better reason to try to stay up for it.
Well, you know what? I mean, you can, at the very least, you can get a good night's sleep. You could rebound for night 2 and we'll be good to go.
But I'll be there. I'm going to watch WrestleMania. There's no chance in hell I'm going to miss that. I'm just going to be tired AF, but we're going to make it happen. It's going to be a great event.
For sure. All right. That being said, that's Mr. Pip. I'm Chewie. This is the 411 from 406. We'll talk to you soon, folks. Have a good evening.
Aloha. Adios. Aloha.